there were things that I knew had to be done. And so it's all about tenacity, determination, and a lot of time management.
Welcome back to the Quiet Leaders podcast. This is an exciting episode because this is officially the first interview, and not only the first interview, but it's going to be one of our many interviews with our certified integrators. So today I am here with Kimberly Weldin. She is actually one of the founding members of my certification program. I am so grateful that she took that chance on me back in 2024. So let me give you a little introduction to Kim. She is a certified integrator, former teacher, and proud right-hand gal to visionary CEOs. After 10 years in the classroom, she stepped into entrepreneurship to create more flexibility for her family and quickly discovered her love for bringing clarity, structure, and momentum to growing businesses. What began as a virtual assistant work evolved into strategic partnership, leadership, and full-scale integration. Kimberly is passionate about the integrator role and the quiet strength it requires, turning big ideas into actionable steps and helping businesses grow in a sustainable way. She's also deeply committed to helping moms step into the entrepreneurship route through becoming virtual assistants, showing them that flexibility, income, and confidence can coexist. She brings that practical strategy, real world experience, and just the right mix of intuition and sass. I love that. Welcome, Kim. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. I feel so honored and I'm excited.
Well, the first place I always like to start, regardless of who I'm talking to or where they are, is their story. It's really so important to know the context behind where somebody is today. So, Kim, I'd love for you to share your story and how you got to where you are now.
Yeah, for sure. So just context, I am from a very small town in Southwest Georgia. So no one to this day still really understands freelancing. And I was on maternity leave in 2019 with my son. And I knew that in my heart, just I needed more flexibility. I also needed more income because as a teacher, we don't get paid a lot. And so I came across an ad for a freelancing course, and it literally took everything. It would cost my entire savings except for like $7 or $8. And so I had talked to my husband about it. He's a risk taker. I am the one that would research it for years before making a decision. And he told me to go for it. So in 2020, it took me a few months, but in 2020, I did purchase the course. I launched a freelancing business as a virtual assistant. I told myself that I would teach that last year. And my goal was I will leave the classroom if I can replace my teaching income. So I launched my business the summer of 2020 in June. And by that fall, I had doubled my teaching income. But because I had signed my contract, I worked the entire school year teaching and doing VA work together. And it was bonkers, but I got it done. And I left the classroom in 2021, and I've been doing this ever since. So I love it. It started out as VA work. It morphed into more like social media, digital marketing stuff. And then the further I went along, the more I realized, hey, these people are relying on me a lot more than just digital marketing. And I actually got a position working with a client as an operations assistant. Her name is Rachel, and she is my mentor. She's one of my closest friends. But she looked at me one day on a call and she said, you're more than just a VA. You're more than just an ops assistant. Like, you could do more. I see you as a project manager. I see you as someone running my business for me. And I was like, no. And so right about that time, within the 2 weeks, your ad came up and I said, hey, I know her. So I reached out to you and asked you all the questions, did all the research, and jumped in and never looked back. And it's been one of the best investments in my business that I could have taken.
Oh, that is amazing. And I love that you started while you were still working. One of the things that I have been running into is there's a lot of people in the corporate space that are already doing integrator level work. Maybe they're a project manager, but it's hard for them to want to get started. So, can you share a little bit about how you handled building your business while also still having a full-time job?
Well, there's a certain tenacity that you have to begin with. I affectionately call myself scrappy. Like, I'm going to figure the thing out. If I want to do the thing, I'm going to figure the thing out. And by that time in my journey, I was like, something has got to give. I cannot spend another year in this classroom with it literally draining my soul. I could not send my kids off to daycare another day where they're like reaching out for me and not wanting to be there and they wanted to be with their mom. I had a daughter who needed to be homeschooled because she has special needs. There were things that I knew had to be done. And so it's all about tenacity, determination, and a lot of time management. And if you want to begin this while working, you just have to know that you're going to sacrifice your weekends. You're going to sacrifice some of your evenings, and you have to be willing to do that in order to get to where you can resign and you can do this full time.
I love that. I do think a lot of what holds us back is ourselves. It's not that it's the structure, it's the skills, it's our
Yeah.
own belief system. And
Mhm.
that's something that I really clung to when I started. Because when I started, I was going through a divorce and I had to make it work. And I just knew that no matter what, I was going to figure it out. And that's what happened. And that has now transferred into being the leader behind the scenes and just knowing that even if I don't know the answer, I can connect with someone who does, or we can figure it out some way or another. So that's super, super important. I love that you brought that up.
Yeah.
Now, I'm curious on when you made this switch from more that virtual assistant or even the social media side of things to more of this higher level integrator. What do you think is like the biggest shift that you had to make to fully make that switch?
I had to, it was an internal shift for me. When Rachel pointed it out, I took a step back and I just had to, because I'm a Libra rising, I'm gonna get a little woo woo on you. I can see like all sides of things. And so when she pointed that out, my insecurities would only let me see my limitations. But when she saw that in me, I'm like, well, this must be legit because she sees it. And she's the type of person, she's not going to bring it up unless she truly believes that. And so I had to step back. That's my dog. I had to step back and like view her side of things and what she's seeing and what she's experiencing while working through me. And for the lack of a better phrase, I was like, well, damn, she's right. She really is right. And so it was an internal shift of like just stepping out of the insecurities, because if anyone has dealt with imposter syndrome in this journey, it has been me. If anybody's insecurities have limited them throughout this journey, it has been mine. And so, really getting outside of that, stepping outside of my internal dialogue and viewing it from her perspective, I was like, I actually can do this. I'm already doing like 80 to 85% of this work as it naturally just grabbed. She just gave me more and more and more. She relied on my wisdom more and more and more. She would ask me for my input, and I'm like, well, you're the boss, but this is what I would do. Blah, 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 blah. And she's like, well, actually, that's perfect. That's what I needed to hear. It just, when I stepped out of myself, I realized I can do this for sure.
I love that. So yeah, I can clearly see how you developed that strategic partnership, and it really happened gradually and through that experience you had. And I love that you had a client that was able to bring that out of you. And one of the things that I talk about all the time is how important it is to have aligned clients, because
Yeah.
that is what is really going to make this partnership successful. And if there's any sort of tension or anything that's kind of rocky with clients, they're probably not the best fit, which in
Mhm.
turn is not going to allow you to develop that partnership that is needed to really have that freedom in your business and their business. So I love that you
100%.
had that experience. Yeah. So can you touch on that a little bit? What has happened for you to kind of shift more into being aligned in the work you do, or have you experienced anything like that?
Well, I will take a step back and say in the beginning, I was not doing this because it was like go time. Like you just took on the clients that were willing to hire you so that you could get testimonials, so that you could get experience, so that you could get income. So I would say realistically, for the first year or two, the alignment piece really isn't going to be at the forefront of your business strategy, whereas it's just launching the business, it's getting the clients, it's getting the experience and the confidence in that I can actually do this. And then you can focus on like, who do I actually enjoy working with? So for me, that came very naturally and authentically. And I will say, after working with the Julie Calcoats and the Rachel Grahams of the world, I can know off of a discovery call if these are my people or not. And when I say my people, my ideal client is someone who is gracious, who gives more than she receives. I only work with females, I only work with mothers. That's just my preference because moms understand our life and
Mhm.
how we will always put our family first and the business will always come second or third. And so, as I naturally gravitated towards those people, it was very apparent, oh, okay, I'm only going to work with moms. Oh, okay, I don't really care to work with dudes. So I'm only going to work with females. Okay. I only want to work with women who give more than they receive, who see something in me and go, oh, I have this free training. Why don't, or like, I paid for this. Like, here's this template you can use. Oh, I learned this at the HubSpot conference. Let's go over what I learned. Oh, I went to this training with Brandy Mouse, or however you say her name. I'm sorry, I'm Southern. But like, here's what I've learned. Let me teach that to you. And off that discovery call, you can just kind of feel those people. You feel the instant connection or you feel a disconnection. And the more discovery calls you're on, the more you'll understand exactly what I'm talking about. And when it comes to a disconnection, it's very clear. And by the end of the call, I'll be like, well, I'll reach out to you and blah, 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 blah. And I just send them a very gracious email saying, hey, this might not be the best fit, but thank you for taking the time to meet with me. Or I'll reach out to them and go, here's a proposal. Let me know if you have any questions. Hopefully, I answered
Mhm.
that question. I started
Yeah, no,
rambling.
that you had so many great points in there. I had to write some things down. Like, I don't want to
Yeah.
miss this. So one, I can completely relate to having to, in the beginning, just taking on everything and anything. I am someone who has to trial and error to like figure out if that's what I like or not. So to those who are more so starting, that is totally okay to take
Yes.
clients you may not know if you'll enjoy supporting or not. And it just helps you move along in that alignment piece. And then you
Mm-hmm.
also brought up discovery calls, which this has been a topic I've been talking a lot about lately. And it's that your discovery calls are not meant to like be sort of an interview. Instead, it's meant to figure out if you're aligned. Like that is all you're doing on a
Yeah.
discovery call is we have two people and we're deciding if this partnership is going to work and be the best thing. So that is the key piece of a discovery call. You're not trying to sell yourself. They're not trying to sell what they're doing. It's more, can we create a partnership here? So I love that you brought that up. And
Mm-hmm.
you're right that the more you do them, the more you connect with people, the easier it is to figure out if you're aligned or not. And you clearly have figured out who your ideal client is. I love that. You
Yeah.
support women and moms. And you also mentioned that with supporting those people, their business comes second or third to their
Mhm.
family or whatever else they're doing. And that is a key piece too with being an integrator is we want to take a holistic approach
Mhm.
to what we're doing. So we want to incorporate, well, what does their life look like? Or what is
Exactly.
their personal goals, not just business, because we don't want to help them build this business that doesn't support their life or themselves on a holistic perspective. So I
For sure.
Again, great points that you brought up here. Now I'm curious, where would you say you have found your best clients? This is a question I get all the time of where to find clients. So how have you connected with some of the best clients that you've worked with?
Well, first and foremost, the freelancing course that I took in 2020 was through Michaela Quinn. It used to be called Overwhelmed to Overbooked, but now I believe it's the Live Free Academy. She has, through that course purchase, she has a private Facebook group that people looking to hire will go to her website, fill out her hire form, and then go through it that way. That's how Rachel filled out a hiring form through that. I've also had, just from being in this world for the last almost 6 years now, I've had people, refer references, referrals. And then recently, I was hired onto a team as a project manager. One of my past clients sent me an Instagram story that they were hiring, and they said, I really feel like you could really help them. This is right up your alley and around the corner. So just things like that. But I would say ultimately the best clients have come from Michaela's group. I've also, I'm in Natalie Gingrich's group, the DOO group. There has been some really good job postings in there, none that I've applied for, but I know who is posting those jobs and their companies or them personally, and just stellar people. And there's another group, but I get a little iffy about the group sometimes because I can't really speak for the people that are wanting to hire, but there's a lot of postings in that group, even for integrators or project management level positions. It's virtual assistant savvies. Don't be, don't hold back because it's a VA specified group. There's a lot of job postings in there for project management level positions as well.
I love that. Yeah, Facebook groups have always been a big part of my growth for my business, and
Mhm.
there's always this talk now of like Facebook groups are dead, and you and I both know that that's not
No,
true. So I love that you shared that.
not at
Um,
all.
and it really is, once you get into these different communities and start developing these relationships, that's when referrals comes in. That's when these opportunities comes in. So I
Mhm.
always say that you want to get inside of these communities, start building connections, and it's going to pay off. You may be planting seeds for a little while, but eventually
Mhm.
those seeds will grow and your business will as well. That's been the trend
Absolutely.
for me. It's never been a like slow growth. It's always been like quiet. The seeds are planted, roots are forming, and then there'll be a week where I get 3 discovery calls or who knows. So you have to really trust what's happening, which brings me next to something that you mentioned in your form that you filled out. And it's
Mhm.
touching on how kind of that noise of the should, like we should be doing something, and how that can slowly drown out our self-trust. So on the topic of trust, I would love to kind of hear your thoughts on the should drowning out that self-trust.
Well, I will say that really stems from the first 2 to 3 years in business and hearing all of the noise off of Instagram, business coaches, all of these people making 6 figures in 6 weeks and all of these things, not realistic. Like, please, that is so much noise. You have no idea their ad spend. You have no idea the actual money going into that account. Instagram, if you go to my IG right now, there's literally just 4 posts on my IG because the noise of that app has just affected me throughout this whole journey. I would say quieting the shoulds is really separating myself from those people. I limit my time on social media in the business realm of things. I limit the people that I will allow to give me advice and feed into me personally, feed into my business, feed into my soul. I am very picky and choosy about that because in the beginning, I was running to all the people, asking them all the questions, joining this group, this mastermind, just wanting to know, what do you think I should do? Where in reality, the answers were already like, how, I know it sounds so cheesy, but it's so true. And it was frustrating when people would tell me this and I wanted to slap them. But the answers really are in you already. And it just takes time to grow. It takes time to manifest. It takes time and confidence and experience and a lot of no's and a lot of mistakes and a lot of really shitty clients to let you know, okay, I am on the right path because I went through this, this, and this, and that showed me, hey, this is not for me. And so I would say, really be careful what you listen to, who you listen to, the people that you follow, that because even a follow on Instagram, you're letting that feed into you, whether you know it or not. Subconsciously, it's affecting you. And doing all these aggressive posts, 7 things not to do or 7 things to do, that's feeding into you. And if you look at that and it makes you feel insecure, that's an instant no. That's an instant that person is not for you then. But if you read something and you feel inspired and you feel motivated and you feel seen and you feel encouraged, then that's the one that you should listen to.
Ooh, that is so good. We could go down such a rabbit hole on this topic. One of
I'm really passionate about that because I feel like it cost me thousands of dollars to learn this lesson. So I'm trying to like teach y'all now. If you read something, if you listen to something and it makes you feel less than or like you're not doing enough or you should be doing something, that is not what you should be feeding into. Don't allow it in your world. But if you hear something, read something, talk to someone, and you feel better than you originally did before coming into contact with that, that is where you should be allowing your time and your energy.
Ooh, I love that. We may have to do another episode just on that
Yeah,
because we could go down a whole
I
rabbit
feel
hole.
so passionate about it.
Yeah, that's something that I've really been working on the last over a year or so, is really doing that inner work and leaning into my intuition. And it makes me think of that saying, like, you are the 5 people you surround yourself with, but it's not just people. It's also, as you said, the noise. It's what you're watching. It's what you're looking at, reading, like all of that will manifest in your life. So it's really important to recognize what you're allowing into your space, because that's what's going to take you. And one thing that I've learned to do is similar to what you were kind of saying, is I will ask myself, like, does this feel expansive or does this feel contractive? And if it feels contractive, then that's when you need to move away from it or release it or whatever. But if it feels expansive, then definitely go towards that way. So that's kind of a key, like, check-in that I do with myself, that you guys can implement. But I love that. That's really the key piece of getting yourself to that next level, is that inner work. Because a lot of you guys have the skills already with doing the roles that we do. It's again, back to that piece of we hold ourselves back and how do we move forward? And inner work is a huge piece of that. So
Rachel and I, we have said probably hundreds of times at this point, I've never had to do more mental health work, more inner work, more self-help work than when I launched my business. When I became an entrepreneur, it triggered every insecurity possible. It dug up every trauma that I had, even the traumas that were blocked in my life. Like, I'm like, holy cow, I've never invested more in helping myself than when I went into entrepreneurship, when I launched my business. So, yeah.
Yep. I always say that's one of the most surprising things, is when you start a business, you are like, have to do this personal development work. Like, you can't just you have to do them both. Otherwise, and that's what separates the people who continue on and the people who end up quitting, which is a huge, huge thing. So again, we could keep going down this rabbit hole. But one thing, so this podcast really is all about shining the light on the leadership behind the scenes. So with that being said, I am curious if there's something that you can share that you do behind the scenes that others don't always see. So a leadership thing that you're doing that people wouldn't normally see just from the outside looking in.
Well, Rachel's team has 4 incredible women, and one of the things that I always do is I believe in going above and beyond, and I believe that attitude reflects leadership. So I remember every birthday. If there's an anniversary, they're getting, at least a happy anniversary. I make it extremely personable because to me, it's not just a business, it's a person. They're giving us their time. And that's the most valuable asset that you have. So, yes, I hired you for a role, and you will receive compensation for that role. But I'm also going above and beyond by honoring who they are. I find out their favorite snacks, their favorite colors, what genre of book they like to read, if they're readers. Actually, one of the team members and I started a book club together because we're both avid readers. Another girl on that team is a part of our book club. So it's just going beyond the box of the business and really reaching out and knowing who they are as people. How can I give more than I receive from them? Because that's one thing I've learned from my most ideal clients is they give me more. Well, how can I give them more? I can give them my time. I can give them any resource that I may have. I listen to them when they ask me questions. Sometimes their question will lead to something that they didn't even know that they needed, and I might have a template for that. Well, here you go. Or I might have, a former training for that. Well, here's my login. Don't tell anyone. You know what I mean? Like, just and get the training, So it's just in the background. I'm constantly assessing how can I give them more than they're giving me, because at the end of the day, we're just people and we're just doing the best that we can. And I want to be remembered as being generous and giving and loving and quirky and making it more about them as people than about the job.
I love that so much. That reminds me, I'm in this networking group, and their slogan, or one of their things that they always say, is givers gain, and which basically means the more you give, then you're going to receive that too. So that's something that's always on the top of my mind, is how can I go above and beyond or do the extra, because I know it's going to come back to me, and you end up becoming that. You end up becoming a magnet. So if you're putting out all of this great energy, you're doing the thing, it's going to come back to you tenfold. So
for sure.
I love that. That's awesome. I love that you're not just looking at like the task of the job or like what it takes to get the things done or just run the business. You're really, again, going back to that holistic standpoint. You're looking at what others are interested in, their zone of genius, where like what lights them up. And that is a really big piece to leadership, is really looking at it from a whole. And like, we all are people and we're all looking to grow together. So how can we best support each other, whether that's on the business side, but also on the personal side as well. And that's really what this is all about, and why I love working in small business, because you can develop those relationships where it is a lot harder to do in these bigger corporations. But with small business, we can pivot, we can really get to know each other, and we're all here together to do the role that we best fit, which then in turn will allow all of us to grow together,
100%.
which is awesome. So thank you so much for sharing that. You had so many good gold nuggets in there. I'm curious if you have any other advice for the people who are stepping into this quiet leadership behind the scenes and they're kind of navigating this growth. Is there anything else you would like to share with them that you think would be helpful?
Give yourself a lot of grace, because there is a learning curve. And if you are working with your ideal clients, they'll allow you to fall off that curve several times. But just give yourself a lot of grace. What you do for one team might look so much different than what you do for another. There's not a standard certified integrator role, because what I do for one team in the past is nowhere near what I do for another team now. And so you have to let that grow and develop naturally, not force. Just let it flow. Don't force anything. When you come onto a team, you ask them, okay, what are your needs now? You assess what you can deliver immediately so they have instant wins. And then from there, you just let it naturally develop, and your people will love that and develop with you. So just give yourself a lot of grace. And it's so hard for me to say, like, I am my own worst critic, and it's so hard for me to tell you that, but I tell you that from a place of total humility and experience. So just be gracious to yourself.
I love that. That's so good. And I am also someone who is very critical of myself. I have that internal critic happening all the time. I am
Mhm.
much better now at catching it and kind of reframing what I say to myself. So
Mhm.
I love that. Give yourself some grace, because yeah, you definitely need to. And especially as integrators, we like to kind of do all the things, or we have that tendency to overgive sometimes, and or like worry that we're not doing enough. And I can assure you that
Mhm.
you're likely doing plenty. So
Yeah, you're probably going above and beyond. And I know, like, when I come onto a team, my logical brain just kicks in and I go, well, I need to do this, this, and this. And I see this gap and this need and this strength. And, oh, I could tweak that and make it even better. But as coming from a holistic approach, I sometimes have to just make myself step on the brakes, push the brakes a little bit, go back and view it from the big picture. Okay, who are these people? Who are they are as people? Who are the team members as people? What are their true needs holistically? Their time. What days do they need off? What's coming up in their lives that's more important than the business? All these things. So I get wanting to dive in head first or ass first because I've done that plenty of times. But just being gracious and coming into it slowly, and keeping that holistic view of things for sure will always help.
mhm. Amazing. So where can people connect with you if they want to talk with you further?
Yeah,
Where can
I'm
we
on
find you?
Instagram. I'm on Instagram at Kimberly Weldin. I do, because I limit my time there. It may take me like 24 hours, 48 hours to get back with you. But please feel free to DM me any questions. If you just want to connect to be friends, I always love new friends. And yeah, or email. So I do your email. I don't have any like freebies or opt ins happening right now. I'm just working and just making new friends every day.
Amazing. I love that. And we will link your Instagram in the show notes. So if you're interested in becoming friends with Kim, you can do that. Yeah, again, thank you for coming on the podcast today. It was really great to catch up and connect. And we will have to do another episode on all the
For
woo woo stuff.
sure. Thank you for having me.
I'll
And
be in touch.
anytime.